Om Shanti and greetings of peace. Welcome to Insights with Brahmakumaris. We are exploring our journey on happiness, and we touched on a very interesting topic about discipline. We shall explore further. We are fortunate to have Sister Meera again with us today. Om Shanti, Sister Meera, and welcome to the show.
Om Shanti.
We were talking about discipline, and the first and the foremost question that comes to our mind with discipline is it takes away your freedom. What is the true definition about discipline when you touch about discipline and happiness?
When I say discipline, I mean that we set certain rules so that we are able to conduct ourselves according to the rules, so that we are able to achieve what we want to achieve in life. For example, happiness. So we are able to get what we want. It's connected with setting certain rules or code of conduct to conduct myself under different situations.
So when you talk about rules, these are rules which are not the norms or something that we have to go out of?
Not really. When I say it is like a kind of a self-discipline, you know. It's a kind of a self-control so that I am able to see my limits and I am able to move along that line and progress in my life so that I am happy about what I am doing.
Okay, when we look about discipline from an overall perspective, what we have been taught till date, when you're at home, there are certain rules that you follow. When you go to school, there are certain rules to follow. When you go to college, there are certain rules to follow. But when you come out in public or when you really grow up and you're standing on your own, there are no rules and regulations that have been given to you. You are running on your own.
Yeah.
Right? So when you talk about these rules that are to be followed, what are those rules?
It's not like a kind of a strict and hard rules. It's a kind of, art of managing myself, you could say, or an art of self-mastery, so that I am able to know my habits, I am able to know my own desires, I am able to know my own state of mind, so that I can create a kind of a discipline for myself. You need to understand yourself and stay within it so that you can be happy, Otherwise, many times what happens is that we try to, please ourselves by allowing permission to get what we want, going out of our limitations. So sometimes we get disappointed.
I love two words we will get back to on self-mastery later, but the first thing that I would like to ask you is about the desires. Quite often we feel once whatever we desire, we achieve, it gives us happiness. Isn't it true happiness? Or what are these desires?
Actually, desires can be in different forms, One of the form of desire is craving. Like I have had enough food. My belly is full. I can't take any more. But then I have a craving to eat chocolate. I have a craving to eat ice cream. So even after I have had satisfaction, but I go for it. That is called craving, And then, sometimes we suffer from ill health because we overeat. And then because of ill health, we are not able to experience the happiness that we were having before. So desire in the form of craving is really bad. So if I want to overcome that, I need to discipline myself, in the sense that, okay, you have had enough, you are satisfied. So why you want to go after it, So I need to talk to myself. So in a way, sometimes I look at discipline also is like giving time to myself to have a self-talk so that I understand myself better,
So that's the part that you were talking about, self-mastery, right? So how do we train ourselves or tune ourselves to gain control then?
See, again, the word control people don't like. When you, like the word people don't like is discipline because it limits their freedom. So they feel that my freedom is being taken out because I was drawn a line, you have to remain within this. So it is not like drawing line or anything, in order to experience happiness, I need to understand my own limitations. I need to understand my own capacity. So I need to conduct myself according to that. Because everybody don't have the same physical stamina. Everybody don't have the same mental energy. So there is limitations. So, when we talk about controlling again, maybe some people out there, they may think that, oh, I don't like controlling. Again, controlling doesn't mean that, you are being held. It is again a discipline, because, for example, I need to say, I'm a student. It is time for me to study, examination. So work while you work, play while you play. That is a discipline. Because if you are playing at the time of working and vice versa, you are not able to have happiness because you won't pass in the exam, you see all your friends going through and you are left behind. You cry. So I need to make myself understand there is a time for everything. There is a time to wake up. There is a time to sleep. There is a time to eat. So if I follow the kind of a discipline in my daily life, I enjoy the life the best. Sometimes I call discipline as the key to real freedom. Because those of us who are disciplined, we are free. This is one of my specialties from childhood. I like disciplined life. Because even though I was born in a Hindu family, I was brought up in the school in a Christian convent, and I loved that discipline. And because of the discipline, I am able to achieve a lot in my life. And I am always happy. So how it gives me freedom? Disciplines gives freedom, and freedom is happiness. That is why when we look at the butterfly flying freely, we enjoy looking at it. Or when you look at a bird in the sky flying free, you feel so happy. I wish I could be a bird like that, so free. Well, we all are a free bird in a way. But, they say man is born free, but we have tied ourselves in our own cage because of our own limitations. So when I am disciplined, I am able to save a lot of time and I become free from burden. I am free. So I enjoy the rest of the day in happiness.
You talked about burden, right? These days, even disciplines are being followed as burdens. Maybe I can give another example. In my family, everybody is pretty disciplined, and we want the children to follow the same. Some or the other how, they feel that we are burdening them with what we feel is right. So how do we have the connect in the family in that perspective where the kids have their own freedom, but at the same time they are able to understand the disciplines of life which will give them a long run happiness?
Well, I think we have to see ourselves in their shoe. Because there are certain ages, especially when they are teenagers, they are going through a different kind of changes, both in their emotional state of mind as well as in the physiology of the body. So we need to understand their situation. And so we cannot impose. That is where they feel the pressure, So we cannot impose and say you have to do it. But you can suggest, like a friend, this is why, I need to be just like a facilitator. I can just guide them. It will be good if you can do this, So in a way, you need them to make a choice. And when they make a choice and take decision, they take responsibility.
I think that's very good, because from that time itself, I think they get trained, or they become answerable to their own actions, what they have decided, right? That's what you meant to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So further up, like a lot of times, even right now, when whether children or even as adults, right, when we move around outside in the world, a lot of time we do face certain different types of pressures, and we feel that somewhere our discipline habits are getting into conflicts moving around. How do we sustain ourselves during that time?
So I think I have to create a kind of rules for myself that I am not going to compromise, because we cannot compromise certain discipline that we have set for ourselves that brings us happiness, because otherwise I am dishonest to myself and I feel guilty, and then when there is guilt in my conscience, happiness disappears. I cannot be happy anymore. And so even if I go out, and of course people are enjoying freedom in a different way, not knowing what is freedom is all about, but I cannot compromise my discipline that I have set for myself, so that I can maintain my happiness, even after I have moved away from that atmosphere. So that is very, very important. But many of us do not realize that we compromise to make somebody else happy. We let go of certain disciplines that we have set for ourselves, and that makes us feel guilty. So at any time in our life, we should make sure our conscience is very clear. Because the moment there is a prick in my conscience, there is guilt, I immediately lose my happiness. And that is why, honesty plays a very important role in being constantly happy. Because if there is anything that which is against my conscience, dishonesty, it takes away my happiness.
Again, I got another thing here. You talked about honesty. Somewhere, even contentment, I could gather that you're trying to portray that if we are content, then maybe we'll be happy. What are the things? Because day by day, we are trying to achieve things, and maybe we put it the name, or put it as the name, that we get contented or happy once we have that, right? And that long run, we are somehow or the other how giving it the name of happiness with those achievements, but still not being content. Why is it so?
So again, I go back to that craving. We have to work on wanting more than what we need. See, when I crave, I desire to have more than what I need, that is where I lose my happiness, because then I have to compromise my discipline to get what I want. So that is why I always remember someone told me, when you want something, you go to the market looking for it, and when you don't get it, what you should understand, what is the message you are getting there? You don't need it, because God provides the needs. Before a child is born, the milk already is ready for the child. So need is provided, but cannot fulfill the greed. And so Mahatma Gandhi also said in one of his expressions that there is enough to feed the mouths, in this world today, but there is not enough to feed the greed. So I'm talking about craving, wanting more.
Requiring more than what
Yes, acquisition, because it is a myth that when I have a lot of acquisition, when I have a lot of things, I will be happy. So we always connect happiness for the future when I will be this, then it will happen that way. So happiness is not a destination, it is journey. I need to experience happiness now and here. And that is why I need to appreciate. I need to really be thankful for what I am and what I have. So that craving will be controlled. So discipline brings self-discipline, brings self-control, and self-control leads to self-mastery. So when I talk about self-mastery, I mean I am able to use my thoughts, I am able to use my feelings the way I want to use it, not the mind is ruling me. I am able to master my mind. So once I am able to master my mind, I am able to master my desires, and I am able to lead a contented life. That is an aspect of discipline actually. It is not through suppression, but it is through a practice of reflection, contemplation, talking to myself. I attain mastery over myself. So first step in the self-mastery is controlling my mind. Then second, ruling over my sense organs. Because this sense organs is a great deception. So sometimes the craving make me do wrong things to bring happiness. And then afterwards, I regret for what I have done.
Yeah, I think that takes me back to the days when people started acquiring. When we were kids, there was no television. Then slowly things started to come, and it becomes a commodity or necessity in the house. But some or the other, how with all this mobile technology and things, somewhere the connect in the family is also dropping, right? Because people are quite busy with their own gadgets. 5 people in the house, 5 gadgets, and everybody will be. Sister Meera, when just now you were talking about self-mastery and controlling the mind, what are the guidelines that we can follow to have that control?
Actually, what is very important is to look after our thoughts, our mind. So first guideline I would suggest is to teach myself to think less and think slowly and think positive, so that I am able to save the energy of my mind. That's one. And secondly, I would suggest that we should, teach ourselves to live in the present, moment by moment, because we know that past is history and future is mystery. So what is present is the gift. So when I always live in the present, I feel fresh. My life becomes a gift, a present for others. So that's the second guideline I would say. Thirdly, what is necessary to attain self-mastery is to be able to appreciate others instead of criticizing. When we are criticizing others, it is not them who are affected. It is me. I am losing my happiness. I am coming out of the way. And so it is always good for us to appreciate what goodness others have, as a result of which the positive energy comes back to me. And number 4, very important guideline is as much as possible, change worry into well-being. Because worry and happiness cannot go together.
But these days, everybody thinks worry is the necessity. If you are not worried, you won't be able to achieve and you will not be able to perform.
But what is worry? What is worry? Worry is only negative thinking, negative attitude, negative perception towards a situation. So when you have a choice. Either you can have a negative perception or positive. You can look at it from a negative point of view or positive. Why not I choose to look at it with a positive attitude? So I change worry into well-being. And lastly, I think very important guideline is give more, as much as possible, give more and take less. So in that way, the more I am giving, it comes back to me with the same. It's a law of science, whatever you give, you receive. So the more happiness you give others, the more happiness you receive. So by following at least some of these guidelines, I feel we are able to have a kind of self-discipline, a self-control, and that leads to self-mastery. So we are not any more subservient. We are not any more slaves to our habits. So we are able to conduct ourselves being a master, the one who is in charge, the one who has the power to be able to use oneself the way they want.
Okay, when you talk about giving, I feel that I try to give happiness to my family members, to my kids, to my parents, or whoever comes in contact. But some or the other, how I feel, I do not get in return, right? Why is it so? Even if all my efforts are there, I'm laboring a lot, doing a lot, thinking what they need, I should meet their requirements and everything. But some or the other, how I feel that I do not come to the path that whatever I intend to give them happiness, they're getting it, and I get it back.
Maybe I think you are expecting the return in one way, and so they may be giving the return, but your expectation is another way. So you are not catching. So this is where I need to be in tune. I may not be getting the return for what I have given, the same thing, but in another way, it is coming, definitely, because it's a scientific law, it's reciprocal. But if I have expectation, I don't acknowledge it. And the most important thing, very, very important in this aspect, is not to take sorrow. Even if somebody gives me sorrow, I don't take. I shouldn't give sorrow, but I shouldn't take sorrow also. Because by taking sorrow, I am committing violence on myself. And so as a result of that, I cannot experience any more happiness. So, one of the seniors used to tell me, what kind of a heart a person has if they take sorrow. What kind of a person who gives sorrow, his heart or her heart may be. Naturally, I think the one who gives sorrow must be having a heart like stone, but the one who takes sorrow may be having a heart like wax. Both are not good. So what we need to have, constant happiness, is a gold heart, which means power to mold myself, flexibility. I think those who flow with the change, those who are flexible, are the most lucky person who enjoys happiness with everyone, everywhere, because they are able to mold themselves. So have a gold heart.
Okay. I think when you talked about the change and ability to mold, it gives us the flexibility to understand and move out in the next phases of our lives as well. I think we will talk about this in our next episode. And thank you for being with us, Sister Meera. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
We were talking about keeping a heart of gold where we can mold ourselves and be flexible and enjoy happiness. We shall talk about it again in our next episode. Till then, enjoy the reflection. Om Shanti. Om Shanti Om. I'm a peaceful soul. Om Shanti Om.
मंगल ध्वनि है, ओम शांति